There's never a dull moment in the Trumpian golden age. We've got, of course, massive breaking news coming out of the Middle East. The United States and Israel have launched a coordinated military assault on Iran. The U.S. has sent him the assault operation Epic Fury. Israel's named it Operation Roaring Lion, which is very interesting, because the lion is featured prominently as the emblem of the flag of the Iranian monarchy under the Shah, the Pahlavi dynasty. We are now getting reports that the joint military operation have hit targets all across Thrawn, Isfahan, Karaj, Kermanshah.d. Unlike last June's Operation Midnight Hammer, which focused narrowly on nuclear facilities during a 12-day war, this campaign struck at the political heart of the Iranian state. We're talking missile infrastructure, military command nodes, the supreme leaders' offices, parliament, the military of intelligence, Iranian naval bases. President Trump has explicitly framed this as a regime change operation, telling Iranians in an 8-minute true social video that when we are finished here, you need to take over your government. It's yours to take. So our job is to take out the ruling infrastructure so you can take over. And this will probably be your only chance for generations to do that. There were now confirmed reports that much of the Iranian regime's leadership has been wiped out, including Ayatollah Khamenei himself. It's being increasingly confirmed that Khamenei has been killed. His body was reportedly discovered under the rubble of one of the attacks. And so there's no question this operation was designed to decapitate the regime, and it is doing so. It's decapitating the regime inside Iran and decapitating the network of Iranian proxies. Hezbollah, Iraqi Shiites, Houthis in Yemen, Hamas. Nevertheless, Iran's response was immediate. It was unprecedented in scope and strategically calculated to widen the conflict. They are desperately attempting to turn this military action into a region-wide crisis that drags all of the Gulf Arab states in and adversely affects his global energy markets. They, of course, want Russia and China to get involved in some way, shape, or form. So all of this is meant to make the strikes hurt United States and Israel. And so, to that end, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard launched missiles and drones at US bases across the Gulf, and Bahrain and Qatar and Kuwait and UAE, as well as Israel and targets in Jordan. At least one person's been confirmed killed in Abu Dhabi. From falling missile debris and explosions were heard near the U.S. consulate in Erbil, Iraq, Ghana. Critically, Iran targeted every Gulf Cooperation Council member except Oman, which has served as Thrawn's traditional back-channel mediator. And again, Iran's strategy is absolutely unmistakable. Regionalize the pain. So, by striking at the Gulf states, hosting US bases, Thrawn's forcing a choice upon the sunny Arab world, and threatening an energy shock that could send ripples throughout the global economy. Strait of Hormuz, through which 20 million barrels per day, roughly 20% of global petroleum, demand flows, is now under elevated threat. Some oil majors have already suspended Hormuz shipments, and analysts project Brent crude could spike above $100 per barrel if disruptions materialize. Now, what sense should we make of all of this? Because there is so much going on here. First and foremost, what we have to understand is that there are 3 actors in this assault on Iran. Not just 2. This is not Trump doing the bidding of Netanyahu or doing the bidding of Israel or so forth. That's just a totally reductionist conception. There are 3 main actors. There's United States, there is Israel for sure, but there is also the rising sunny Arab world. Now, in the weeks preceding the assault, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Oman actively lobbied the Trump administration against attacking Iran. Oman was actually the one mediating the talks between the United States and Iran. Not because they're fans of Iran. Iran and the Sunni Arab world emphatically do not get along either racially or religiously. But the Sunni Arab economies obviously thrive off of stability in their backyards. So they were originally opposed to any strike. That calculus has changed as of today. Iran's decision to strike Gulf Arab territory was a huge mistake. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are now promising to join the fight. And one of the easiest and most immediate ways for them to do that is for the Gulf states to lift restrictions on us forces from using their airspace. So that's the first thing to recognize here. There are now three official actors in this offensive: the US, Israel, and the Sunni Arab world. And so then that leads to the next question. What is this offensive for? Why are we doing this? What we have to understand is that Iran defines itself as a civilization state in the fullest sense of the term, meaning that its culture and its values are not confined to a single nation state, but stretch out over what's called the Shiite Crescent, made up of Iraqi Shiites, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in Yemen, and Hamas. They're Sunni, but they're part of it. Iran's foreign policy has been animated by a sacred narrative, Shia messianism fused with anti-US Israel geopolitics. What one analyst termed messianic multipolarity, in which geopolitical power is pursued not merely for national interest, but as part of a divine responsibility to challenge Western unipolar domination. That was what the bomb was for. A nuclear bomb would give this messianic multipolarity its ultimate power to inordinately shape the Middle Eastern region in its own image. Not by using the bomb, but just by having the bomb. It would in effect turn Iran into a quasi-superpower, and thus bolster its messianic multipolarity. Operation Epic Fury strikes at the very core of the civilizational self-conception. And the key here is that the regime faces an existential threat, not to just its political institutions, but to the entire civilizational project it claims to embody. Iran's maximalist retaliation, right? Targeting the Gulf, activating proxies, threatening Hormuz, reflects a regime that perceives this as a fight for civilizational survival, not a limited military exchange. And yet this axis of resistance, as it's often called, that's the proxy network through which Iran projected civilizational influence across the region. That axis of resistance is at its weakest. It's been in decades. The fall of Assad in December of 2024 in Syria severed the logical backbone connecting Thrawn and Hezbollah and Hamas. So Lebanese Hezbollah, which was absolutely battered by the 12-day war, they're now cautious and diminished. Hamas is operationally crippled. Iraqi Shia militias are extremely limited. Only the Houthis in Yemen, who have announced the resumption of the Red Sea attacks, retain significant independent capability in all of this. But the axis has been radically weakened, and so a decapitation strike on Tehran would pretty much unravel entirely the axis. I mean, that's the idea. And so what we're seeing is the Shiite civilizational sphere, this messianic multipolarity fragmenting under the pressure of military decapitation, proxy degradation, and the loss of its Syrian land corridor. And so what remains is not so much a coherent civilizational network, but a dispersed archipelago of ideological actors. Dangerous, but no longer a functioning civilizational system or network. And in its place, in the place of this axis of resistance, or this messianic multipolarity, is the rising Sunni Arab world with Saudi Arabia at the center. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 is not merely an economic diversification plan, as you'll so often hear on CNBC and other nonsense like that. It is a civilizational project that explicitly positions the Saudi kingdom as the heart of the Arab and Islamic worlds. It operates on three pillars: a vibrant society rooted in Islamic heritage, a global investment powerhouse, and a hub connecting Africa, Europe, and Asia. And those three pillars constitute nothing less than a bid for Sunni civilizational leadership. And the key here is that the cultural and religious components are just as important as the economic ones for that leadership. And that's where the Abraham Accords come in. The Abraham Accords, which normalize relationships between Israel and the Sunni Arab nations, represent a structural realignment driven primarily by shared opposition to Shiite Persian Iran. Iran remains the principal impediment to a full-orb realization of the Accords and the economic prosperity that they promise for the region, which for Trump is absolutely key in destroying the Islamic radicalization so prevalent in the region. And so what do these strikes ultimately mean? First and foremost, that the Shiite civilizational sphere is collapsing as a coherent strategic system. Whether the Islamic Republic survives or falls, the axis of resistance connecting Hezbollah, Hamas, Iraqi militias, and the Houthis under Iranian coordination has been structurally degraded beyond any previous level. What remains are fragmented, ideologically driven actors operating with decreasing coordination and increasing volatility. So that's the first thing that's happening as of today. The second thing related to it is that the Sunni Arab civilizational sphere is rising. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 project, the Abraham Accords architecture for the region, and the Gulf states' growing technological and economic sophistication position them as the dominant civilizational force in a post-Iran Middle East. There are most certainly risks that still have to be worked out inside the Sunni Arab world, no question. But they'll no longer have to contend with regional Iranian threats. And so all of this is to say that the Gulf is becoming the front line of this rising civilizationalist world. The rise of the Sunni Arab world from the ashes of the collapse of the Shiite. Its Shiite rival will indeed have ramifications for all the world for the foreseeable future. So obviously, we'll keep a very close eye on how things develop, and of course, I'll be giving you continuous updates and analysis as we go along. But bottom line, what we are seeing today is nothing less than the rise of a Sunni Arab civilizational world revolving or organized around the Abraham Accord so as to bring in Israel in order to bring about a flourishing and economically thriving Middle East made up finally of peace. That's the vision. That's the goal. God bless. Love you all. Ah.